Howdy, and welcome back to the Texas Bucket List. You know, traversing around Texas, I have seen some amazing sights. Desolate destinations that make you feel like you're the last person on Earth. And even places that don't even feel like they're in Texas. But there's also a few places that make you scratch your head and wonder, what were they thinking? The OG spot for this in the Lone Star State? The Cadillac Ranch. Route 66 is all about celebrating Americana. Completed in 1938, the route went from Chicago to Santa Monica, with 178 miles of it in the Lone Star State. And with millions of travelers hitting the road, all sorts of places popped up along the route. In Texas, you've got the U-Drop Inn, the Devil's Rope Museum, the Cross and Groom, Midpoint Cafe, the Big Texan of course, and without a doubt, the most famous of them all, Cadillac Ranch.
There's a reason that it's as popular as it is.
Alex Gregory is the curator of the Amarillo Museum of Art. He grew up in Muleshoe and stubbornly understands what it takes for art to succeed in this part of the state.
So what's it like talking about art in Amarillo?
It's pretty easy. We've had a lot of art in Amarillo and a lot of influence in American art, being in the Texas Panhandle, and Amarillo is an interesting place.
Cadillac Ranch is the pinnacle for peculiar art in these parts, and it all started over 50 years ago.
Cadillac Ranch itself was born in 1974, and it was the brainchild of a collective called Ant Farm, which was Chip Lord, Doug Michaels, and Hudson Marquez. They started a correspondence with Stanley Marsh III and ended up kind of realizing this idea of the Cadillac Ranch.
The cars were buried nose first at the same angle as the Great Pyramid of Giza, with their original paint jobs intact. Over time though, the installation became more interactive. What you see at the Cadillac Ranch today isn't exactly what the initial idea was for the art installation.
Why put Cadillacs in the ground?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the whole idea is it was an investigation of the tail fin initially. And so they were looking at how the tail fin was growing. At that time, you know, every couple of years they'd come out with a new tail fin design. And so everybody would go get that tail fin design. And so it started as a little bump in the tail fin, you know, and then it got into these very extreme, pointed, very architectural designs at the tail fins of these Cadillacs. And then it kind of slowly went back away.
For decades, the Cadillac sat quietly in a field until they eventually became a pilgrimage site for travelers from around the world.
When they'd go out and visit, the first thing that went away was the glass in the car would get shot out, you know, there were bullet holes, so people were shooting at it for practice. And, you know, then it's suddenly a little tag showed up here or there. At some point, it becomes just this thing where everybody wants to grab some paint, go out and paint it. A completely different thing than what it was ever intended to be or intended to say. And so it's morphed into its own kind of existence now that, you know, they never planned for. It's a birth of a thing outside of what Cadillac Ranch was meant to be. But I mean, that's what art is, appropriating things from previous generations or previous artists, or being inspired by somebody to do something similar or in that vein or use those materials.
Today, it's an ever-changing cultural canvas.
Interactive, I guess, would be a good way to put it. You know, people climb on it, people decorate it over and over and over again. In a way, it doesn't matter what you have to say. It's all going to be democratized by somebody else and overprinted, and, you know, like, that's done.
The layers of paint that have been sprayed on the Cadillacs over the years has turned into a dense cross-section of colors that's so heavy, chunks of it fall off the cars. Local artist Bob Crocodile Lyle takes the dried paint chunks and makes his world-famous Cadillac jewelry with it. The pigment that stays in place seems to put a protective layer on the cars. One thing's for sure, you never know what you'll see here.
My feeling from talking to Chip Lord, Ant Farm, is that, you know, in a way he'd prefer to see it live its life and go away if that's what's going to happen to it.
Was it crazy for them to realize that this has been going on for 50 years now?
Yes. Yeah, it was crazy, and more crazy to see it morph into what it's become as opposed to what it started as.
What's it meant to Amarillo to have that here?
I mean, it's like the Eiffel Tower to Paris, or the pyramids to Giza, you know, or the Leaning Tower at Pisa. You know, it's like, it's just the thing. Like, it's a stand-in. I've seen tourist maps of Texas, and the Cadillac Ranch little icon is a stand-in for Amarillo. You know, like, this is the thing.
Inspiring artists old and young. the Cadillac Ranch has become a cultural icon, not only in Texas, but around the world.
If you have this window of opportunity to come out and experience it and get an understanding of maybe why it's as iconic as it is and why it reflects Amarillo in a weird way, then you ought to take advantage of it, because it won't be around forever, and neither will any of us.
Well, thanks for watching this segment of the Texas Bucket List. To see more, be sure you subscribe to our channel, and to see full episodes, become a member. In the meantime, you can also shop our store at the Texas Bucket List Store and Studio.